Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Muy buenos días o bueno, tengo pues sí, buenos días. Y bueno, hoy tengo un invitado y la verdad es que estoy muy contento de tenerlo aquí. Es un gran amigo, es un maestro con el que he compartido muchísimo desde hace muchos años y bueno, no quiero hacerlo más de emoción. Es el doctor Jeremy Dittus. Vamos a estar aquí platicando un poco acerca pues, de lo que va a ser todo en nuestro curso, pero vamos a hablar un poco más acerca de él, para que lo conozcan ustedes un poco más. Pueden hacer preguntas si quieren también en los comentarios. Y pues aquí vamos a estar platicando y voy a estar traduciendo simultáneamente. Bueno, consecutivamente, querría decir. Así que, sin más por el momento, el doctor Jeremy Dittus. Hey, Jeremy, how are you doing? You are live on Cielito, Arte.
Hi, everyone. I'm
So,
doing well. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.
no, it's really great to see you, to hear you, and I'm really happy that we are doing this course on the 26th and the 27th of this month. And really, thank you so much for being with us. And you are our first diplôme supérieur to be on this on our platform. Le decía que es el primer maestro con el diploma superior que está aquí en la plataforma y que de verdad estamos muy contentos de tenerlo aquí. So, and I would like to ask you. Well, first, let's tell a little bit of the people about where do you come from? Where are you from? Where you go to school? But there's one thing that I really need you to get to. And how did you get to Dalcroze?
Okay. So I'm from Ohio, which is a state in the middle of the United States, but towards the eastern part. And I grew up in the country. I grew up on a farm. We had cattle and horses on our farm, which was really wonderful. And my mom was actually a piano teacher. So she was my very first piano teacher when I was very young. And I studied with her off and on throughout my childhood. Although the truth of the matter is, I was not a very good student, and working with your mom can sometimes be really tricky, especially if you're not a good student. And I was definitely one of those. Although I have very fond memories of being with my mom and playing in recitals and things like that when I was a kid. I had no interest in being in music at all when I was a child, or even growing up and through middle school and high school. And it just was an accident, actually. I went to a college visit one day, and there was someone there who was asking about hobbies, and I said I played a little piano, and they said, well, you have to go see Eleanor Vale at our university. And this was at Earlham College in Indiana. And I went to her, and I just chatted with her, and she said, well, why don't you play me something? And I did. And she said, well, you need to have a teacher. You need to be studying for real. And I was 17 at the time. And, you know, the idea that a college professor might take this much interest in me was really exciting. And so I started driving from Ohio to Indiana, which is next door. But it was a 2-hour drive, and
That's quite a
I
bit.
started working with Eleanor.
And well, let me get a little bit of translating into that. Bueno,
Sure.
nos cuenta que él nació en Ohio y que empezó a tomar clases de piano con su mamá, pero pues que muchas veces cuando uno está tomando clases con su mamá, pues como que no es la misma dinámica, uno tiende a no ser tan buen estudiante. Creció pues en una granja y pues que ahí fue donde empezó a tener su interés como pianista. Pero después en Indiana conoció a una maestra que lo escuchó y al escucharlo le dijo, bueno, pues es que tú tendrías que estar tocando en serio. Entonces empezó a hacer un viaje de ida y vuelta hacia Indiana, que es como 2 horas de viaje para poder continuar, porque dice que una maestra de college haya tenido un poquito de interés en mí era genial. Entonces pues lo empezó a hacer. So you were doing that commute like every day, or were you going?
Uh, Once a week. Once a week, it was awesome. I was 17 on the open road, driving, crossing state lines. It was awesome.
No, that's incredible.
But, you know, Eleanor Vale was my teacher, and she was fantastic. And she suggested that I do some auditions for colleges, and that's how I got into music for my my undergrad.
Ok, entonces la maestra Eleanor Bale era la que le dijo, bueno, es que tienes que empezar a hacer audiciones, y pues así fue como llegó a hacer su programa, vaya, su primer grado, sus primeros estudios formales dentro de la música. So,
and then, oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just going to ask, so how does Dalcroze fall in the picture here?
So when I went to undergrad school, I went to an undergraduate school in Cleveland, and there was a woman named Mary Dobria Grindal. And Mary had just received her Diploma Superior probably 6 or 7 years before I got to BW. And so my very first real introduction to solfege and collegiate music study was through my body. And it was really amazing. I really do credit Mary for a lot of what has happened to me in my life, because I really did luck out.
So your first formal approach to solfege was through movement?
Yes, we had in our solfege curriculum at BW, they had it divided out so that way 2 days a week we would have more standard solfege training. I had that with Dr. Warren Scharf, and then 1 day a week we would do rhythm and all things structural with Mary, which was incredible.
Okay, so now everything begins to make sense to me. Porque es que le pregunto que si el primer acercamiento que tuvo entonces, porque me dice que su maestra la maestra que tuvo de solfeo dentro ya de su formación profesional, semiprofesional, ya era de movimiento, porque era con una maestra que tenía el diploma superior también. Entonces, el solfeo tenía un trabajo con un maestro que era las cosas más técnicas, y el trabajo con esta maestra que también involucraba más el movimiento. Y pues le digo que pues eso ya me empieza a hacer sentido a mí, porque la musicalidad que él tiene, o sea, habla de verdad de alguien que ha estado en contacto con su cuerpo desde muy joven. I was just telling them that it all makes sense to me now, because the musicianship that you have, it's from someone who has been in touch with their body. I mean, from a young age. I mean, maybe not toddler age, but definitely not someone who began in their 30s.
I agree. So that's kind of where it all started, and my musical path was kind of unusual. It took me a while to decide that I really wanted to go into music formally. I was studying it in college, but just for fun. I actually have a degree in chemistry and pre-medicine. That was what I was there for.
You're kidding.
But at the end of my studies, I was kind of faced with the decision: should I go into medicine or should I continue music? And I just decided, you know what, I can always do medicine if I really want to, but if I stop music now, this is going to be a significant pause. And so I never quit.
So it was either Dr. Jeremy Dittus or Dr. Jeremy Dittus.
At some level.
Entonces, o sea, me dice que empezó para estudiar medicina, hizo toda la parte inicial de medicina, pero que llegó un momento en donde tenía que decidir si irse hacia medicina o seguir con música, y dijo, bueno, pues medicina puedo hacerlo en algún otro momento si de verdad tengo ganas, pero música, si no lo continúo ahorita, vaya, es ahora o nunca. Entonces le digo que pues era o el doctor Jeremy Dittus o el doctor Jeremy Dittus. Now, you have a very pragmatic approach to Dalcroze. So let's jump ahead a bunch of years, because you did your certificate, your license, and then you went to Geneva and you got your diploma superior over there. But when you came back, and this is because this is what I've seen of your career, you have done a ton of things. You are responsible for I don't know how many certificate graduates since maybe 10 something years ago, and because you have this approach towards the training of Dalcroze that I don't see its parallel in other certificate programs. Le decía que el enfoque que yo veo en él es muy pragmático de Dalcroze. No es algo como que muy como lo que veo en otros programas. O sea, desde que él regresó de Ginebra, como que veo que ha sido responsable de muchos graduados del certificado. Pero, pues, ¿qué es lo que nos puede decir de eso? What can you tell us about this?
I would agree with you. I do think that my approach is really pragmatic. When I left Geneva, I had so many tools in my pockets because of the training that I had received from the wonderful teachers there, and also from the teachers that I had here in the United States. And they were very different. They had the relationship, of course, was with the body, but the focus was different. And when I left, my real focus for myself was on the idea of accessibility and to be honest, equity. The idea is that this work takes a ton of time. It takes a lot of effort. It's not fast. It is not. It's not like other types of education that I'd ever experienced. And what I felt could be my contribution to the community was this idea of accessibility and equity. In other words, I really wanted to create an institution or a manner of using this work that made it possible for people who maybe didn't have amazing skills at the piano to develop those skills, for people who needed to see written out examples of what playing for movement could be, for people that needed to have recordings, that people that needed to have video footage, for people that needed to have lots of different ways of experiencing the work. They needed access to that. And so that's what I really tried to do.
I love that. I love that because it really feels that way. Now, let me translate that because that's so important what you just said. Dice que sí, o sea, que estaría de acuerdo en que su enfoque sí es muy pragmático, que cuando él tuvo una formación muy grande con los maestros allá en Ginebra, que de verdad lo estuvieron poniendo más en contacto todavía con su corporalidad, eso, pero que ellos estaban muy enfocados en eso. Pero cuando él regresó de Ginebra, su enfoque iba más hacia la accesibilidad y hacia la equidad de poder recibir el entrenamiento, que quizá alguien que no fuera tan diestro en el piano pudiera desarrollar esa destreza, pudiera desarrollar habilidades que le permitieran estar en contacto con la rítmica y con esta forma de poder trabajar. También que poder tener acceso con gente que no necesariamente pudiera estar involucrada con el entrenamiento, porque además es un entrenamiento, como dice, muy largo, muy pesado y que te exige mucho. Entonces, ¿cómo poder hacerlo más accesible hacia todos? And I think you're doing that great because I see in your training you have persons. There are flute players, there are clarinet players. I think someone played the harp, or maybe it's just my imagination. But I see a lot of people.
We have 2 harpists in our program, actually, if you can imagine.
2 harpists, yeah.
And it's exciting. You know, one of the things that I love about this work is that it gives so many different dimensions and ways of thinking about music. And largely, Dalcrozians are focused on the piano for good reason. The piano offers us an orchestral way of knowing music. It offers us a visual appeal to how harmony and solfege works.
Yeah.
But not everybody has that. And what they do have brings other ideas to the table that are worth discussing, worth investigating. And so that's all very exciting to me, that these people are coming into our field of vision and offering new perspectives.
I totally agree. Es que dice que el piano es un elemento principal dentro de la rítmica Dalcroze y por una razón muy importante. pero que cuando vienen otros instrumentistas y ya los tenemos dentro de nuestra visión, están como que ahí. Entonces eso nos da algo muy importante también a nosotros, algo que explorar y es muy divertido y es muy interesante. So yeah, and talking about that, I wanna ask you something. I mean, check this out. I mean, I don't know if you can see this. This is you with a student who has, to my guess, a shark, I think, on his face. But
yes, there was a face paint day at that institute.
But
yes.
we can see that he's really having a bad time, right? I mean, he's just not happy. I mean, look at this kid. I mean, and look at the teacher, which is you. I mean, you're just having a blast too. And I've been looking.
I love those work.
Sí, es que le digo que estoy viendo estas fotos porque estoy buscándolo. O sea, este niño se ve que se le está pasando recontra mal, ¿no? Pero además, o sea, he estado buscando otras fotos de las clases de Jeremy y todas las fotos son así del tipo. I have been looking for other pictures of your work, and they all have this in common. We see people smiling. We see people having fun, and I don't think it's just the photographer was very quick in getting them, because we see some very hard work in the things that they're doing. We sometimes see some, like this one. Let me just show this picture right here, which I love. I'm going to tell you a small anecdote about this one, about the picture, because you can see that there's a lot of work in here. It's not just they're not just playing around. They're working. They are really working, but I mean, it's not like a normal solfege class. O sea, no es una clase normal de solfeo que los vemos ahí sentados todos aburridos y trabajando ahí. Who were you working with here?
So that particular group of students is a really special group to me. I mean, all my students are special, but this one was most of those kids. I started in 2006 when I first started teaching right out of the blocks with my license here in the United States. And I took most of those kids through their high school training. And this particular event was a plastique performance at a university here in Denver. And so we were warming up in a dance studio sort of at backstage. But I wanted to share that the young lady who's leaping behind the one in front, her name is Kate Logan, and Kate is now actually my administrative assistant for the school, which is just precious because like I have a picture of her behind me when she was little, and now she is taking a gap year from school because of COVID. And so she is working at the school and just doing a fabulous job. So it's really lovely to see how this work can really change lives in such a positive way, not just because of music. And of course, because they're working hard, they recognize the value of what they're doing, but also it develops character, it develops discipline, and helps to create good citizens of the world. And I'm seeing that in Kate. And all of these kids, actually, they're wonderful.
Absolutely. Le digo que de esta foto y de todas las demás, que siempre veo fotos que la gente se está divirtiendo en sus clases, que están haciendo un trabajo, pero no un trabajo como en una clase normal de solfeo. Y me dice de esta foto que es un grupo muy especial con el que trabajó cuando tenía apenas su licencia, y eso fue ya hace tiempo, pero cuando empezaba él a dar clases, y dice que la chica que está haciendo el salto, pero la de atrás, no la que está hacia adelante, ella se llama, what's her name again? Kate Logan. Yeah?
Kate Logan.
Sí, Kate Logan, ella es esta alumna, pero que ahora es la administradora de su escuela también. Entonces, cómo le da, dice, esto es precioso, que de hecho tiene una foto ahí atrás con ella, y cómo es esta formación que cambia vidas, pero no solamente hacia la música, sino que cambia la música porque la vida porque se van dando cuenta de lo que hace el trabajo y de lo bello que puede hacer cuando están trabajando. Absolutely. I mean, this is great. Oh, but what I was going to tell you about that picture, is that I was looking for shots, for snapshots for my students to show them what Dalcroze is around the world, and that's one of them. That's one of the ones that they are, and they actually strive to achieve that movement. A lot of kids. This is just outside my classroom. So if you can see just down here, down to the bottom right, and I even have Dalcroze School of the Rockies, Denver, Colorado, and we have Michael Joviala up there, and everybody.
Oh, that's great.
So
that's really great.
When they see that image, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, you go ahead. Please, go ahead.
No, and I say when they see that image, because they know that we're doing a lot of stuff in the classroom, but I'm really trying to push the name Dalcroze. Okay, so we're doing Dalcroze. So now we're going to, when they clap, it's like now let's do Dalcroze hands. So when they do that, it's like immediately they begin doing this, right? They are not just doing the things that they know they're right, but they feel them as something that it's in their bodies.
Absolutely.
And and all of this definitely makes your certification program something very I would say very different from the certificate programs that I've seen around the world. But can you tell us a little bit about precisely? For example, what makes your certificate program so successful and so fun to people?
Well, thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate that. The program has been an evolution, and I'm constantly tweaking it to serve my students. It's really what it's about. It really is about being a student-centered program. It's very important to me because, again, if I'm thinking about accessibility and equity, how can I make this possible for more people? That you can't just have a single track vision for this. And I think that all Dalcroze teachers around the world are doing that. They really want to help their students. I'm really just focusing on the ones that are in front of me and what I see that I think that they need. So one of the most important aspects, I think, of the training that makes us a little bit different than other programs is that we actually have a published curriculum that is available to anyone. So you can go to my website right now and you could download the student handbook and see all of what we are going to cover in not only the certificate, but also the license.
Right, exactly. Eso le digo, ¿qué es lo que hace que tu programa sea, o sea, porque a lo que yo he visto, el programa de certificado que tienen ahí en la Escuela de las Rocallosas es diferente a los otros. Y le digo, ¿en qué estriba eso? O sea, ¿por qué lo hace tan exitoso? Y me dice, bueno, es que él habla de la accesibilidad, precisamente. Y esta accesibilidad no se puede dar si no hay una estructura bien hecha. Y además en concentrarse en los alumnos que tiene frente a él. Y al concentrarse frente a ellos, entonces el programa no es una cosa que está fija, sino que es un trabajo que va evolucionando y lo ha ido arreglando y arreglando y arreglando. Y lo que en verdad hace que el programa sea diferente es el currículum que está impreso. Y ustedes pueden ir al sitio de dalcrozeschooloftherockies.com y ahí pueden bajarlo, pueden bajar el cuaderno completo del estudiante, están todas las actividades, está todo lo que se va a hacer, que claro, que una cosa es verlo escrito y otra cosa es realizarlo. Again, one thing is to see it written down, but another thing is to actually do it.
Of course. I mean, and everything I'm about to say, I want to preface it with a little anecdote, which is nothing that we can learn in the Dalcroze world comes from reading in the book by itself. That is not it. That is sort of like learning how to hug. You don't learn to hug by reading about it. You learn to hug because you experience a hug. And that's how it goes.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. De verdad es una forma hermosísima de decirlo, porque dice, no, o sea, todo lo que haces en Dalcroze lo tienes que hacer a través de la vivencia, lo tienes que experimentar. Es como abrazar. No aprendes acerca de abrazar leyendo acerca de abrazar, sino que tienes que hacerlo. That's beautiful, and I'm totally going to use that on my lessons.
Cool. So what I try to do with my students is to make sure that they have, at the very least, a way of knowing something. So for instance, when you see our curriculum laid out, it doesn't mean that you're going to do an activity that is exactly as it's written. But it gives you an idea, it gives you an inspiration. Oh yeah, I see, these are the things that we're going to work on. So that gives you, as a student, a sense of transparency, a sense of knowledge of, okay, I see the big picture of what's gonna happen, which I think is also important. It helps you to plan, it helps you to better realize what it is that you're about to do. And then from the teacher's perspective, it gives us a way of understanding how we're going to relate to one another while we're teaching, because we have a larger vision of where students are going, which I think is really important.
Yes, indeed. Okay.
Why don't you translate and then we'll get back.
Yes, please, because I'm just falling into your words, and I'm just like, wow, this is so interesting, but I need to translate. Sí, porque dice todo esto, o sea, es el programa que él realiza, y es sobre todo para poderle dar a los alumnos una forma de hacer las cosas. En Dalcroze trabajamos mucho con que los alumnos inventen, pero el que darles una forma de hacer las cosas, eso les da una transparencia a los alumnos, y ellos saben cuál es el camino que van a seguir. Se puede establecer una buena relación con los alumnos, porque nosotros estamos estableciendo una buena relación de ellos con su proceso de aprendizaje. Entonces, eso es lo que los va llevando más hacia adelante. Yeah, for example, I was seeing your schemes for planning a lesson. I mean, they are really great, because they actually, I would say, unique, because but they're so natural, because when I saw the arrows, okay, so we begin here, and then you go here, and then you go here, and I say, oh yeah, absolutely, oh yeah, I do that. No, I don't. I've never done it with the arrows, but I really should, because it takes you on a path. So is that something that, did you come up with that? Was that inherited from someone, or just collective wisdom?
Well, I'm sure it came from somewhere, and it was most likely from all of the wonderful teachers that I was able to study with in the United States and in Geneva. Lisa Parker was one of my real most profound mentors, and one of her faculty members was Ginny Latz. And Ginny Latz is largely responsible for how I conceive of Dalcroze pedagogy. And I quote her all the time, because she'll say, what are you teaching right now? What are you doing in this very moment? What are you trying to make happen? And that is something that I do a lot with my students. But what I was able to do, I think, is to take some of the ideas that I learned from Ginny, some of the ideas that I learned from Lisa, some of the ideas that I learned from Sylvie Del Bianco and Sylvie Morganegg and Rick Janata in Geneva, and take those ideas and start to get a picture of what different teachers who are really successful, what are they doing? What is a path that they take?
Right. Yes.
And I think that's the part that's so important, that students have a path. And, you could always veer from the path. You can go off and explore the bushes over here. You can go to this clearing and spend some time exploring. But when you have that path, it makes you feel secure. It makes you feel like you know what you know. And it also makes it so you know what you don't know, because you can see it off the path. You see, oh yeah, there's stuff over there that I need to know more about, and I will go do that someday.
Yeah,
If that
exactly.
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Le digo que cómo es, porque sus esquemas de planeación son algo único que yo no había visto. Y además muy naturales, porque cuando yo lo vi como los pone con flechas y todo, dije, yo los debería de, creo que yo lo hago así, pero no, la verdad es que es tan natural que pienso que lo había hecho así en algún momento. Y le digo de dónde lo sacó, o sea, si fue algo que se le ocurrió a él o fue algo que fue recogiendo, heredado o algo. Y me dice que seguramente fue algo que aprendió de todos los maestros. O sea, tuvo su maestra Jenny Latz, que dice que habla mucho con ella, que la cita mucho, porque ella siempre le pregunta, ¿qué estás enseñando en este momento? Con esta actividad, ¿qué es lo que estás haciendo? Entonces, como que te hace ser muy consciente de lo que estás realizando. Y otra maestra también, Lisa Parker, que es también alguien muy importante dentro de mi formación, y seguramente tomaba cosas de lo que hacía con Jenny, con Lisa, con Silvia del Bianco, Sylvie Morganek, Ruth Janada, que son maestras de allá de Suiza, y todo lo fui recogiendo y lo fui mezclando hasta tener este camino que le puedo ofrecer a mis alumnos. Y creo que es muy importante, y estoy hablando en su voz, perdón, y creo que es muy importante que los alumnos, los maestros tengan un camino para seguir, y siempre te puedes desviar del camino, siempre puedes desviarte y decir, uy, mira estos arbustos que están acá, mira estas flores, voy a irme para acá para explorar esto, bueno, quizá después voy a explorar eso de allá. O sea, siempre es válido hacer eso, pero siempre es necesario tener el camino. Yeah, but it's very necessary to have, as you say, that path. Maybe not laid out, but maybe a little bit hinted. You know, something that you know that they are going towards that. Jeremy, this is really amazing, and I can't wait for everyone to get a chance to work with you online on our next on our next course on the 26th and the 27th.
You bet. It's my pleasure, and I'm really excited to share this Dalcroze experience with them. I think it's pretty marvelous.
It's definitely it's incredible, and it's really something special when we do it with you. I have heard people talk about you like a force of nature, like the most energetic person around, someone who's really relentless and really cares about his students. So really, I want to salute you for that, and I want to thank you for all the things and all the advice that you have given me over the years. Since we were neighbors when we lived both in Geneva that year that we coincided over there.
Yes.
And well, I don't want to keep you too long because I know it's morning over there, and you must be getting ready to teach or something. So.
Well, and it's a very cold, snowy day for us up here in Colorado. So yeah, it was in the negatives today. So
that's incredible. Bueno, yo le decía que de verdad yo le quiero agradecer todo yo, Manuel, le quiero agradecer todo lo que él me ha enseñado, todo lo que he visto, todo lo que él siempre me ha compartido desde que éramos vecinos, cuando los dos estuvimos ese año que coincidimos en Ginebra. Y que de verdad ya se me cuecen las habas porque estemos trabajando con él en el curso del 26 y el 27. Yo he escuchado que a él lo describen como una fuerza de la naturaleza, alguien de verdad más grande que la vida, tiene una energía increíble y le preocupan muchísimo sus alumnos. Así que es alguien con quien de verdad les aconsejo muchísimo que trabajen con él, ya sea en este curso o en otras cosas con él. De verdad, no se pierdan la oportunidad de trabajar con Jeremy. Yeah, I was telling them that you are a great person and teacher, but you know that already. And también nos dice que está haciendo mucho frío. What's the weather like over there? Bueno, nieve, pero
it's yes, it's snowing and it's cold. It's cold. It's been a little rough here.
I read you were doing minus 15 Celsius the other night.
Oh yes, at least. Just 2 days ago it was negative 24 Celsius.
Ouch. No, que hace unas noches tuvieron menos 24 centígrados, o sea, y que obviamente que estando donde se nieve, it gets really cold in Denver. So but over here, oh no, we have it's like summer. It's so strange.
It's very
here.
tropical where you are.
Very much so. Very much. Well, Jeremy, thank you again so much for this, and I hope you have a great day today, and really many successes to you for the rest of your life. And please, everybody, we're going to put the links here so that you can visit the Dalcroze School of the Rockies. That it's one of the great Dalcroze schools in the United States.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been great fun.
All right. Well, muchas gracias a todos y pues entonces nos vemos después. De verdad no se lo pierdan, 26 y 27. Bueno, aquí lo han estado viendo todo el rato, pero muchas gracias por habernos estado escuchando y pues los dejamos y nos vemos en otra, ¿dónde está esto? En otra ocasión. Adiós.